Okay, so we can start this session, and Stefano is going to start this session, and I give the floor to him. Thank you, Stefano.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Michele. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
So finally, we got it. No, I have to do. I think we will get, okay. I have to do. If I share, if I step to the, I have three screens now. This is the. Let me change to this one. Here we go. Here. Now you see the presentation, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for this. So finally, 22 sessions, a lot of people, almost 24 hours for this event. To my knowledge, it's one of the few events in the scientific community lasting 24 hours, around the clock event. So I would like to start with a thank. So I would like to thank all the people attending the sessions, all the people that have organized all the sessions, in particular also all the colleagues from WSL in Switzerland for technical support. But however, we will do it again at the end. This session is a final session in which we can do several things. First of all, kind of communications. We will do a recap of all the topics and all the issues we did in this 22 sessions. This will follow it by an open discussion on lab's perspectives and also on future activities of the network. There will be also the celebration of the photo contest and finally a closure. Let me start with this. So we had more than 300 registered participants from more than 30 countries. It was really a worldwide event. 5 continents, a lot of people from all over the world. And so it was, I think it was very interesting. I found very interesting sessions, different sessions, from standard session with a presentation to interactive discussion to some role play to live technical sessions to like the one this morning from Norway. It was also very interesting. So I think we all made a good job. As I said yesterday, all the interviews that were broadcast during the second session, and also the other session during the European night and the day in America, or say in America and in Asia, there will be uploaded in our blog. Some of them are already uploaded in our YouTube channel and so in our blog. So you can go, and when you have time, when you want, you can listen and see all the extended versions of all the interviews. Just a very brief recap for the photo contest. There is still time to vote. So if you're not already done, please do it. You can go to our website and click on the photo. I would like to show also to acknowledge all the participants to the contest, all the photos they have sent to us, starting from this one from Stratis Karantellis, and then an aerial photo from Croatia by Tiomir Franjen. This was made by me during a field trip in Ticino in Switzerland with Professor Simon Loeb from ETH Zurich. Wakayama landslide in Japan made by Hiro. Another landslide from Greece, landslide affecting, let's say, an amazing place, not only from a geological point of view. So by Nikolaos Stavolaris. Nejan Ubay and her colleagues literally working on the landslide in Turkey. Another photo from Turkey by Mustafa Hussein Pasoglu. Hope I pronounced correctly his name. Let's move to Catalonia with this rockfall by Jordi Pinyol Guamis. A photo also by our president, Michele Calvello. A lateral spreading in Bosnia and Herzegovina, photo shoot by Zvjetko Sandic. Some field works made by Soren Boy from Norway. Another picture from Norway, I suppose, shot by Graciela. Another amazing landscape with landslides from Hong Kong, shot by Vittoria Capobianco. Another impressive landslide from Norway by Frode Sandersen. And the last one was shot by Cody Stopka. Is a mudslide affecting an highway in Hawaii. So you can still vote, and the celebration of there's still 1 hour to vote, so the voting will stop at 1:15 Central European Summer Time, and then there will be the celebration of the week. I have some communications. There are two communications that our colleague Luca Picciullo from NGI Norway sent to us and asked us to spread. The first one is this website in May, they built up, collecting information on several landslide early warning systems around the world, in particular territorial or geographical or regional. It was a long discussion on this term, but I think it will continue. So Luca asked us, and I forward this request to all of you. If you first to visit the website, and then if you have is aware of missing information, if you are aware of missing information or missing system, you can write to him at the email address indicated in this slide. So there will be like a community-based website and collection of the information. The second one is just an advertising that Luca, together with other colleagues, is guest editing a special issue on the journal Geosciences, exactly on the topic of the local and territorial landslide warning system. So submissions are welcome. I think I'm done for my part. So I will give the mic to Michele.
All right, thank you. Stefano, what do I do? Do I share my screen?
As you prefer, I can also...
You can go ahead. Okay, in case, okay, you go ahead. So first of all, if there is any other communication from you related to landslide early warning systems, this is also the time to do it if you want. Then, I would... okay, let's go to the next slide, and then maybe we can share the screen. What I did in this slide, I put together all the sessions of this 24-hour event, but I listed them not in the order they were presented, and actually they were done, but by highlighting the working groups that were behind those sessions. For instance, the working group 1, chaired by Hiro. He was the one chairing the last session about experiences in Hong Kong and Japan. Also in the European night, unfortunately, I couldn't be there to listen to the session about mass movement warning system in Taiwan, and then the glossary. No, what I want to say here is that besides the sessions that some of you may have attended, and some of you may have attended some of them, I want to highlight the fact that there are these working groups that are the 7 active working groups of LandAware that are where behind the scenes organizing the sessions, and the 7 working groups will be working in the future, after these events. So I'm prompting you, if you are not already a member of LandAware and want to be part of one of these working groups, to come ahead and join what you think it's most interesting for you. But at this point, maybe still leaving the slide, still leaving this slide on, I would like to ask you, and if you want, this is the time also to switch on your camera, because from now, it's a discussion, so we can, all of us can have the camera on if you want, if you can. So, it's the time to do that. I want to ask you whether there is something related to one of these sessions specifically that you want to highlight for all of us, and we can start a discussion from there. Even, given that we had a limited time for the last session. Okay, Katie, please.
Hi, you may carry on first, but
no. I was just going to say that we can even have some questions for the last few two speakers, because most of us were there. But anyway, Katie, go ahead with your
I just wanted to comment, and I promised that I would, about the early career meeting. So we didn't record that one because there was a lot of honesty about the fact that people were free to talk without necessarily overhearing by supervisors, in want of a better phrase. And the fact that the 24 hours offered an opportunity for the early career scientists to meet and have frank and open discussions and start new networks was actually really appreciated by the people that took part in that session. And one of the things that they were interested about in terms of moving forwards was whether it could be a formal working group or a formal part of a network or something to assist them all in their early careers.
Well, you're saying something. Of course, I was not there in the early career session, but it's very good that the session went well, and what you are reporting to us, it's very good news. Who was there? Who did organize and participate? Do you want to say something more to us about it? But of course, okay, Adrian, yes. But
I can say something. Yeah,
absolutely right.
I co-hosted it together with Robert Emberson, and a couple of other people were there, and I can only echo what was said before, that it was really appreciated by us, and I felt at least to have a platform where we can meet regularly, or to have this exchange would be very nice.
No, I personally welcome very much the proposition, so we can discuss it really as soon as possible within the executive committee, but I am totally up for that. It's a good idea. Some of you may have been in the session that I was chairing, the session number 4. Among the speakers of that session, there were some people that I scouted. They were not part of our group because they mostly deal with floods and not with landslides. But anyway, it's a young group of young professionals dealing with early warning systems. So I totally think that having we can say young people or early career scientists being together without senior scientists talking, engaging, and doing and producing is good. It's good, and will give results. Gives results in general. I don't know if others want to say something about it. And again, I invite everybody, if you can switch on the camera, even if you're not talking. But if you don't want, that's okay.
Also, if you think that we missed something, we missed some topic, some issue, I think this is the right time to talk and to propose for next time.
Maybe I can add also, I managed to stay until 1 o'clock, but yesterday, and I enjoyed very much this session about the early career. So I think it was really positive, and also the lot of effort made also by this young Brazilian colleague. So it was really interesting, and I think also we should promote, as I mentioned already yesterday, but we should promote also the possibility to have a small meeting within specific country or within a specific language group. So in order for practitioner to have the possibility just to be free to talk not in English. And I think we should use also maybe to create some pamphlet or something that explain our network also in other language. So one side, one page that explain in other language that is not English. I think could help, especially after the question from Dr. Tullius from Brazil, and probably other have the same question, but maybe they didn't have the chance to ask us.
Well, already 2 proposals are coming for future developments within LandAware, because the proposal of the early career working group, the proposal of thinking about other languages in some way, in many ways, via meetings or via material, and both. Other comments specific that are specific to single sessions that you attended and you want to highlight for all of us now?
May I say something?
Absolutely, yes.
Breath in the eyes. I really enjoyed the session of this morning, as I previously said, the live session from Norway. I think it was really interesting to see how in fact in reality system manager and system group of managers work together every single day, highlighting all the problems, all the not foreseen say issues, and so on. So I think this is the right time to ask also other managers, and also other experts in particular, I say designers and managers of systems that are now in online or that was to propose other sessions like the one that we made this morning, because I think it was a good. I also received some very positive comments from some colleagues that followed the session. It was a very good moment to see how, at the end, after theory, after presentation, after proposal, after ideas, and after everything, how the things work in reality. So I would like to again to thank Graciela first and all the team from Norway for this opportunity, and I strongly ask everyone, all the managers of the system to propose similar events.
And we already have a 3rd proposal for future activities. And I totally agree with Stefano, and I thank Graciela, and also for having convinced your group to speak in English on activities that they typically do in Norwegian, of course. But it was anyway live activities going on. Thank you for that.
No, but it was useful also for us to understand that we need some of, also if we think in terms of LandAware, if we wanted to share things that we do, I mean, even this Excel list that we fill every day, we realize that we don't have in English, and it could be useful anyway for somebody to look at it. Maybe they will change, but I think it was useful to translate some of the things. Yes, and if I can say, I actually all the section that I managed to attend it. So really was really nice. Of course, maybe yeah, we should need some break. It was difficult, and I want to follow all of them, but I enjoyed all of them.
All right, any other comment from others in the audience? If not, what I was thinking, about this session, although I may understand that, we are, many of us are physically tired because, many of us have been following different sessions, although, some of us have been just connecting when we could. I was thinking about a discussion about some topics. So I asked, okay, hold on a second. There is a comment from Ravinda from India. Ravinda, it is requested that if possible, LandAware Group may constitute a consortium of landslide experts, institutions, for sharing of knowledge and best practices within the particular team to work in collaboration for generation of models, algorithms, methods by the experts for reducing landslide risk. I don't know if you wrote, so maybe you cannot talk, but if you want to also talk, no problem, take the mic. If you cannot, I want to say that LandAware is relatively new because we just started last summer, and we are it's an ongoing project. Let's call it like that. It's an ongoing project. It's a network, but we are developing as a network. We are just starting. But you are opening up, to a wider, to more general issues related to landslides and landslide risk assessment, mitigation, management. As you know, we also had an interview at the very beginning of this event. There is already a consortium that is called, indeed, an international consortium on landslides, chaired by Professor Sanz, chaired, indeed, it's an international consortium. So at the moment, the president is Professor Nicola Casagli, and he was the one being interviewed and talking about it. So you can see the interview, as Stefano is pointing out, this relatively brief interview is online, and you can really check the interview. He will say more about the consortium. In that case, it's a consortium of institutions, not a consortium of people, whereas for us, it's a network of people, not of institutions. We are saying that, we want to cooperate with them. Of course, we are more focused on early warning, whereas that consortium is more as a more general purpose. They are the ones behind the publication of landslides. I guess you know that. But anyway, we are open for within LandAware for possible ways of expanding the cooperation among ourselves, the people that are inside the network, or with other institutions for specific tasks. We are open for future initiatives, cooperation initiatives. If you want to add something, again, if you have the mic, you can talk. If you don't, you can write. All right, I was going to move on. Thank you, Arinda. I was going to move on to the next slide, slides, and I asked Stefano, because in my mind, an open discussion, if you move on to the next one, we could try to either address some topics that emerged indeed, hot topics. I call them hot topics because they emerged indeed during the different sessions in this day, and they are already there. We know that there are some topics that are more of interest than others, or at least what came out of these conferences. That to me there were some topics that emerged, and also as Ravinda was saying, and was writing to us and to me to answer, we can talk about possible future cooperation initiatives within LandAware. So I said to myself, maybe the hot topics first and then the cooperation initiatives afterwards. But if any of you wants to say something in relation to one of the two, it's okay to start even with future cooperation initiatives. If you have some ideas, if you have something that you want to highlight or tell us. Otherwise, I move on to the next slide because I want to prompt you to talk and then to have a discussion. So if you go to the next slide, Stefano, I listed what for me are some hot topics that emerged. So information is something that was dealt with in different ways. It's communication, but not only communication, it's information in relation to users and what to tell them when you warn them. Then uncertainties both in relation to model uncertainty and also what to do with uncertain information, also in uncertain warnings. Reliability, liability, scientists versus managers, they have different terms of liability. And what are the experiences there? Anything to add? Performance assessment. And then I put a final question, really provocatively, almost provocatively. Do we really need landside early warning systems? And if so, why? Any of you wants to comment on any of these issues that in my mind are hot topics, but maybe there are even others?
Maybe another, I don't know, it's off the topic, but no, I agree with all of them. I think.
No, but you don't have to agree on
but no,
topic.
I think I thought also. No, another thing what I think is intriguing for most of us is, and I refer also to a question that we got during this live this morning about this human evaluation at the end, because you use all this model, but at the end we have this person that decide what to do or which level send. So, and this is it's difficult to write down or to quantify. So I think it's intriguing, and from what I saw in all this presentation, it's more or less the same in the other country. Yeah,
tell us, Graziella, can you put on your camera if you can?
Yes, sorry, I thought that.
Can you tell us, what is what are the difficulties in your institution about this human final?
No, I mean, what is interesting is, and because yes, today, for example, we show what we do normally, but after what is inside the mind of the person that decide the warning, because sometimes we cannot see with one parameter or two parameter. We need a lot of things to take into account, and today we don't we cannot do in an automatic way, and also because we are afraid, because if we do automatically, we know that our model are not reliable in some area and in some season. So right now we cannot automatically, because if not, we have a lot of false alarm. So I'm not sure how. So I would like to ask also the other if it could be nice to put on paper or try to put some criteria. I don't know. I don't have idea how to quantify this part, the human.
I would like to have the opinion of others, of course, but in my take on this is that I do not have any problem, I don't have conceptual problems in accepting that there is human judgment and somewhere along the process, but at the end of the process, if you're talking about, the final say about whether to give that warning or not to give that warning, or whether to upgrade it or downgrade it, whatever, the final say, I don't have any problem. And I'm saying we don't need to standardize, at least for me, that particular thought process, because that necessarily comes with the experience within the organization where this process is ongoing. So for instance, maybe some of you were there when earlier in the morning we had a session talking about Hong Kong early warning system, but not the latest session, another one where we were doing an experiment of co-creation. Anyway, in that particular occasion, Dr. Cheung said that also there, I don't know, now I missed the final presentation that he gave, but also there, there was a time when it was supposed to be, the model was saying that the alert, the warning level should be switched on, the one that, they would give the public alert to the public. But at the same time, because they have another channel where they have a real-time feedback of what's going on in the field, therefore, they knew that there were no calls to a specific emergency number that typically people call because when there's an emergency, they call there. They decided, there were no calls, therefore, yeah, our model is telling us something, but the lack of calls, and then they decided not to issue the warning. So that's perfectly fine in my mind in terms of a procedural approach to these. Comments by others are welcome.
No, what probably I didn't express well, but what is sometime we see that, I mean, all of us that do the management understand this, that the human part is really important, but sometimes the academia, the researcher, they want us to force to give to quantify this part, and I think this is I think that we should also to remember that the human part is important in this activity. And actually in this warning that we sent today was similar to what was described for Hong Kong, that we had even if we didn't have a lot of I'll say a clear indication in our threshold, we had a lot of report that in the areas something's going on, and there were small landslides. So I think so. Yeah.
There was something that Joanne wrote on the chat. I don't know if she is not able to talk, but if she's able to talk, I would like her to tell us something about how to quantify the value of human intervention in warning issues.
Yeah, I can talk. So this is a really key question for us because we always get asked the question from the meteorological hazard perspective as to what the added value is of the forecaster. And for us, the forecaster is the person who takes the raw model output and interprets it into something that is useful for the downstream user. For us, that forecaster also has an element of engagement with those downstream users, and they would have a discussion as to the warning level. So for those that aren't aware, we also do not only a hazard forecast, but an impact-based forecast. So it's more relatable, or at least that's the plan, that's the hope, more relatable to the end user needs. We've basically been doing some work which does a comparison between automated output from a model, so a risk forecast model, and then comparing it to warnings that are issued. And then that is additionally supported with surveys with end users to be able to see how the added value, where the added value comes in from having forecasters involved in the process. I used quotes around the word quantify because I would stress that it's quite subjective. So although we end up putting some numbers around it, you know, the definition of those numbers is a little bit, as I say, subjective, and we decide what those numbers really mean. But what we find is that typically, to inform action, the interaction between the forecaster, their experience, and also their involvement and engagement with the users adds significant value to the likelihood of that user taking action. Whereas an automated output, although it may provide a quicker way of getting information out, actually doesn't necessarily lead to action, because there's nothing in between that helps with that discussion or that translation. There are other things to consider, of course, in this, and that is the difference in forecaster risk perception. So this has also been looked at from the meteorological perspective, where we try and quantify or understand how different forecasters, how their own perceptions, their own risk perception leads to a change in what the warning might be. And so you actually do see a difference between forecasters who are very new in role compared to people who have been in role for a very long time. And so this is why we've built in a number of checks in the process for how human intervention is done within the warning structure. But I'm happy to talk to anyone else who has any questions, but I don't want to take up all the time.
No, it's very interesting indeed what you're saying. So don't worry about the time issue at the moment, because I would leave the discussion going if there is a flow. I'm reading now what Hero is saying. Hero, do you want to talk or should I read? Okay, then I read. Yes, we admit we have difference. That's okay. The diversity is a driving force for us to get stimulus to go forward to a better future.
Well, I write down in the chat. Please read a little bit.
Okay.
But I would say the difference counts, and we agree over the topics of these hot topics. We all agree, and we all face the same challenge in terms of lose in this arena of lose.
No, I totally I get that. I didn't want to say, no, my intention was not to say that those are topics that are hotter than others. No, I use this word just to stimulate the discussion. Indeed, no, I don't want to necessarily talk about those topics. We can talk about other topics like the human factor that just emerged. And in that respect, from what Joe said to us about weather forecasting and what are some practices that they are having, also to evaluate the importance of people's intervention. Okay, I didn't understand exactly. If you want, Joe, okay, can you tell me better if when you're talking about engagement with users, are you talking about the engagement with users of the forecaster? Therefore, the users get a better, that behave better, or do better actions because the forecaster is engaged with them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, as I said, it's a fairly subjective assessment, but we tend to find that, so the way that we tend to issue impact-based warnings, we have a dialogue process with some of the stakeholders. So the decision on how impactful we think the meteorological event will be is actually more of a consolidation through that dialogue process. So, for example, the forecasters will talk with people and the local authorities and say, we have this event happening, and this might be what the impact is. And that then actually helps the people who have to take action have a better understanding and feel more involved and empowered in the decision. So we find that to be more beneficial.
No, that's much clearer now. Now I understand. So basically, so given that there is a strong role that you you put on the interaction, because as you just told us, now there's a dialogue with stakeholders, then of course, yes, as a stakeholder, as a user, if I interact with then I feel better whether if that interaction is going well. Okay, now I got it. Any comment from others on this issue or experiences? Hero, tell us what you just wrote in other words. You know, then.
Yeah, people science, we as an experts have issued a warning, but nowadays, you know, after 2 decades of experience, I think we have more interaction amongst recipients of warning and those issuers of warning. And sometimes we will commingle together, like detection reports. We will incorporate those detection reports into the next phase of warning, which will be more of a detection type of warning than the forecast type of warning. So in this data-driven community and society and data-driven world, we need to invent another form of rules in the coming age, not merely on depending on the rain gauges and radar-based products, but we will put all things together, like the Dr. Chung in Hong Kong has been doing. We will do the next phase, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, and I agree that now these issues that you are bringing forward, also what Dr. Chung was saying before, are definitely some issues that shall direct how the new, as you said, form evaluation, the new form of use will be in the future. Any other person want to jump in this moment, in this discussion?
May I? I just want to add something. As also Graciela and Joe already said, I think human intervention in these kind of systems can't be neglected, because at the end, okay, a warning system can provide an advice, a warning message, and so on. But after this, there will be an action, and this action will be taken by a human, by a mayor, by a manager of the system, and so on. Also, as we saw in different contributions, there were also some cases in which these actions were not happy for the population. So the population was not happy to respond to this action. So at the end, there will be for sure a balance between any action and any political response. So I think we can write that human intervention, human action can't be neglected in a warning system at any level, from a regional one to a local or a slope scale one, probably with the same with differences, but with the same relevance.
And another thing that is important, as we saw from the presentation from Hong Kong, this system require time to they evolve all the time, so we have to be prepared also to create them in a way that are sustainable with the time, both in terms of human resources, because you have to transfer your knowledge to the future landslide forecaster, but also in terms of the model. And so it is a long process, and we have to be prepared for that if we wanted that. It's because we don't see the results so soon. So we, at least you start, from my experience, you start to see some results after 5 years. So you start to see people that react to that. But of course, it depends on the area and how much, also how many human resources you have to go further in the communication chain. So, but it's a long process. Probably for local, maybe it's easier. I don't know, but at least for more regional, you need times.
I saw that Marcel switched on the camera, so I'm assuming he wants to say something.
Yeah, sorry. It's now it's not on the personal aspect, communication. I'm thinking that we at once, at our example in Catalonia, we have our territorial regional scale early warning system, a prototype, and we were looking what is now the missing gap, or where we can advance most, and this is a bit related to the uncertainties that is listed here. So we have on one side, in our case, we have the susceptibility map. On the other side, we have the rainfall or soil moisture input. These are the key elements, at least in our case. And then we have the inventory data to validate, test our early warning systems. And I would like to ask this question, where we should make more effort or where is the effort, the cost benefit, where we could more improve at the end the performance of the early warning system, more on the susceptibility, more on the rainfall measurement threshold, soil moisture, and then the inventory that in our case is another topic. So this is a bit a question brainstorming, perhaps more from the scientific, but also for the stakeholders, for the end users. I would like to hear a bit feedback. Where we should look also for collaborations for other experts, where we could improve our global aspect. This more in the line what Fausto yesterday said, that he explained the susceptibility aspect and the rainfall aspect, and also the data, the inventories. So this is a bit comment question.
Did you give yourself an initial answer in terms of, for instance, monitoring versus susceptibility assessment? In your opinion, given that you gave us the question, but is there one side that is, in your opinion, more cost? Yeah. The cost benefit analysis is more on one side than the other?
Yeah, our experience, at least I can explain, we saw that where are the element at risk? The element at risk normally are along the roads. At least most damage that we have in Catalonia is along the roads, and then in urban areas also sometimes. But our susceptibility map is for natural slopes mostly. Also the pixel size, we have different pixel size. So we have, at least here, we have to stress more on the early warning system based where we have the consequences. Not make an early warning system somewhere in the Pyrenees and there is no element at risk. That is one of my conclusions. And still we have a lot to do about the thresholds. We start with rainfall thresholds. Now we incorporate soil moisture, and their uncertainty is really huge. So this is my experience, and the missing data. We don't have so brilliant data like in data set like in Italy or now in US they started, or in other countries. So this is another point that. But this is my experience now, our experience from Catalonia. But this is my personal opinion.
I see that Manfred turned on the video, please.
Yeah, I can give a direct response to Marcel. Actually, that's what we are doing here in Switzerland. We we are using a landslide data set for determining our thresholds, which is based only on the damages that they generate. So it's from a damage database. So it does not include all these shallow landslides that we have in the country, but only those that generated damages. And that goes exactly in this direction that you proposed.
Another, something that comes to my mind has been there in my mind for a long time. Now I'm saying it publicly. I would try to go towards a consequence susceptibility assessment. It's sort of strange in terms of when I say it, I understand that maybe people don't understand what I'm thinking, but it goes in the direction of what Marcel is saying. Susceptibility assessment, we do it, mountain areas, and then we do all our whatever analysis in order to get zoning of susceptibility. But then if we start from the elements at risk, we can still look at susceptibility, not at risk, of course, susceptibility as at risk, yes. But starting from the elements at risk, we can narrow the area where we should do susceptibility assessment, that is important for the future impact, possible future impact of landslides, therefore for us, warning. So I agree with your line of thought. Any other comment along these lines by anybody? I see that this open discussion, maybe at the end of a day like that, is not for the future. I say to myself, it's not the best place to put it, because then we are at the end. So being at the end, we've been discussing different issues during the sessions, and therefore we're also tired. But still, I would like to say to see if there is somebody that wants to add something without calling by name people, because that's not polite. But if there is, I see some people that I know. I see some people that at some point switched on the camera and then they put them off again. So if you
change idea, because as soon as we put on the camera, you ask. No, but I mean, just to answer to Marcel, I think for us now is a big issue is the landslide data, the quality of the data, and of course. Most of we have a lot of data in the database, which are mainly damaged because all of them are along the road. Of course, in Norway, we don't have this big landslide that kill a lot of people like in other country. But, and so in a sense, they're damaged also. The one close to inhabited area, they are those that affected people. But the problem is the quality is bad anyway, because we don't have, most of the time, we don't have the time of occurrence or the landslide type. It's wrong. And this, it was discussed yesterday also during the session by Ben Mirus. Yeah, the confidence is low in some of them. And so now, finally, also I mentioned yesterday, I think in one of the comments, that sometime, was my perception, that it was not a priority to work on the quality of the data, of the landslide data. So it's not always a priority. It's not the leader in some organization that do not see a benefit, initial benefit. They think to made hazard mapping. And now we are going back that we need to improve this data set, or at least the one that we should use for landslide early warning. And the other things, so one thing is to improve so I wish to improve this landslide data set. The other, I think we should work to build trust on the users. So they have to trust on our warning, because if they trust you and that you manage to explain well the uncertainty, they understand better. And sometimes we think that they cannot understand but actually they accept better the result of that. And I think this is so that doesn't matter if at the end you don't have a fancy model. For them, the only thing is important that if they will have a problem, and they will. So I think build the trust is something that we should do. Of course, I know that in some countries it is existing already, but not probably everywhere. And we are also working on this consequence impact-based warning that we call. So, but we are at the very beginning.
I would, if there are no spontaneous comments or continuation of comments on these, I would try to go to one issue of the ones that you see there, not the performance assessment one, to understand whether there are some opinions there about it. Because performance assessment, at the very beginning, yeah, thank you very much. At the very beginning of the day, Fausto Guzzetti ended his presentation by saying, among other things, we should devise a set of meaningful evaluation metrics. He said a minimum set of evaluation metrics. So agree on what what we like as an evaluation metric for deciding whether a system is working or is not working, for evaluating it, for assessing the performance. I'm asking myself this. I've been asking myself this question for a while now. No, so I have some ideas, and I want to know also differentiating between single landslides and population of landslides. In my opinion, is very important. If something happens specifically for regional, territorial, geographical systems, no. But also another question that I want to put forward is, shall we also try to go beyond the statistical evaluation to evaluate the system, and how to do it if we don't just want to rely on metrics? So I have multiple things here for you to eventually pick up on. So metrics, what metrics are best, difference between single and multiple, and shall we really also rely, do we need to rely on metrics necessarily always, or can we go beyond metrics?
Michele, I'm Luca. I think I can add some more things here. Can you hear me?
Of course, yeah, please go. If you want to switch on the camera, you can, otherwise you talk.
Yeah, well, hello everyone. Well, here of course, me and Michele, we have several things in common since we have written together some papers and the method about that. So I also do think that the importance of dividing among the occurrence of one or multiple landslides in a day or in several days is important, as well as important to divide the different warning levels that have been issued in the period of analysis. But then talking about the performance assessment, from my point of view, it is, let's say, easy. Let's use this word, it's easier, okay? It's easier doing that for a technical point of view. So to test and to evaluate the performance, the effectivity of the warnings that have been issued. But it's a bit more complicated to evaluate the effectiveness of the warnings that have been issued. So how the warnings that have been issued have been perceived by the population, and how have been used by the people, the element exposed at risk, to reduce the
their own risk. So this is something a little bit more challenging from my point of view, speaking about performance assessment. So I would say like efficiency can be in a given way measured, effectiveness, looking at the element at risk, it's a bit more challenging.
Thank you. Any other comment on this issue?
But could you explain the last your last point, because I'm
yes,
not sure if I understood.
At some point, I even remember when this thing came to my mind during a discussion within the LandAware community. The fact that how to decide whether something is, as Luca is saying, effective. How do we go about it? Okay, getting metrics is getting metrics, yes. But then after, even if the metrics are good, maybe the perception of the users and stakeholders is not as good as the metrics. Is that important? Yes, I think the risk perception is important. Or the metrics are bad, and the other way around. Maybe the perception of the users of what you did is a good perception. So they think you did a good job. Is that important? Yes, I think it's important. I think both things are important. And besides the user perception, there is also, whether your warnings, where people complied to certain measures or not. It also depends on the way you do your warnings. Therefore, your performance assessment should also gauge that part. So that's why I'm saying at the end, maybe it's not only some metrics or a set of agreed metrics that we should consider. So that was to explain you my last question. All right, all that said, if we don't pick up on an issue that is this time of the day, that is depending on where we are, it could be morning, afternoon, evening. If we don't pick up on something that really generates discussion, I would not go on just because we said that we have to go on for 2 hours. So no, of course, as I said, this specific topic is a topic that is of interest for me. But and I tried to do it for Joe. Camera is there for talking, or camera is there for by chance?
It was by chance because I got kicked out of Zoom.
Okay. So now I really leave it up to the floor to all of you to say something else, and maybe getting on some other direction for the discussion, or keeping on this one, or if not, I move on to the next stage. So go ahead, talk, open up your camera, or even just the mic if you want.
Yes. Sorry, I do actually have a point about the metric side of things. I think it would be interesting within this group to consider user-oriented metrics. So this is something that we tried to do in a meteorological context, because we recognize that a lot of the verification metrics that are typically standard are not well adapted or understandable to the end user. So they don't have any context for the number. So if we use a skill score, for example, they don't really know what that means in terms of the performance for them. So we actually did a challenge where we invited people to come up with new user-oriented metrics. So there were some people who did something specific for the aviation industry. So the metric was related to how the model performed in terms of reduction in fuel, for example, which was an interesting concept and had not been developed before. And I think you could do similar things in the landslide context, where perhaps rather than a metric that's a skill score, you're looking at how the output performs in relation to something of direct relevance to the user. So perhaps the percentage of network where the forecast was correct in the road or rail instance or something like that. So that might be an interesting challenge to us all, perhaps.
I'm up for the challenge. So I know, and I can even say at this point that, it was some previous discussion also with you that prompted me to also engage in reasoning about, as you said, the user-oriented discourse. Then it's metrics plus could be also something else, could be perception, could be something else. Thank you for that. Any other comment?
No,
Marcel,
Michele, no, only almost a curiosity. Speaking about the standards, that they are so different, even in colors of warnings. Now I saw again in Japan, red is in the medium, and then highest is some kind of purple or something like that. Not even in the colors we are agreeing. Not I don't speak about different levels because we are using 4, and sometimes people use 3, 5, 6. So at this really basic thing of warning, levels, colors, how we call it, we are not able to agree that at least some stand. This is really, I think, a topic that we should take into account, that more or less homogeneous. I don't know, it would be nice to hear why in Japan they use the color red for a medium warning and it's purple, something like that for highest.
Yeah, they just left. Is anybody there? No, because Hero just left, and I think everybody from.
No, it's a curiosity culture,
no,
but I don't understand culture. Perhaps there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that culture makes a difference and makes these decisions. Yeah. Also, culture and also evolving standards, because standards are evolving. For instance, the green, yellow, red, that for us is the standard. How you say, cross-light colors. Nowadays, people are warning that it's not a good combination of colors, because colorblind people are confusing. Therefore, we are evolving also towards gradation. So anyway, but then after red, also in Brazil, somebody from Brazil, I guess she just left. Elisa Silva, I guess she left. Anyway. Isabella is there. I also saw in Brazil, for instance, in Rio de Janeiro, that there was the classic green, yellow, red. So when we want to do four levels, sometimes we stick the orange in between the yellow and the red. But there they said after the red they went for black. No, black is worse. Black is so. We were discussing about standards. Also, if you remember last year when we met physically in Perugia, and also we said that one of the aim also of this group or network should be also to try to standardize some things. So within working group 1, some work is being carried out on this in that respect. Yet I am somehow. I would leave some room for culture-dependent practices. So, you cannot, this thing came out in a few discussions in the past sessions. We cannot maybe aim for a worldwide standardization of certain things. It shouldn't be our aim, maybe, a worldwide standardization of certain things. Some things, yes, but some others not. Because then, because we need to account for the fact that local practices in terms of cultural habits may have an important role on that. But I see that there is definitely room for improvement for what you said, in terms of levels and codes and.
Yeah,
Mariana, you want to talk?
May I? Okay.
No, that she wrote. I don't know if she.
Okay, please.
If she can talk, or we have to read what you wrote.
Yeah, I can say just in
Please.
terms of I think it would be better rather than coming up with standards where across the world we're expecting everyone to use the same color schemes, is instead coming up with standards or principles or considerations that we need to be thinking about when we're developing those hazard levels and how we're visualizing that. So it's thinking about what existing color schemes are used for other early warning systems that people are used to. How are people who are using those warnings interpreting it? Do we need to change that? And then, yes, like you said, considering visual impairments in the color schemes that we're choosing, and kind of self-reflecting whether the ones that we're using already, but really kind of centering it around the users rather than coming up with, like you said, not coming up with practices that have to happen across the whole of the world in terms of picking which colors we should be using. But yeah, trying to aim more towards kind of principles, considerations, things we need to be asking ourselves when we're choosing what colors to use.
Stefano, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, please. Thank you. Yeah, this is a very interesting topic. We here at CNR, we wrote a review paper on this, and we also listed all the names that were used for the different levels. And there are, in any system has different names. For example, a moderate warning is the lowest one for a system, and this is the medium one for another one, and so on. But also colors. Also for colors, there are some color issues, not only for colorblind people, but also for the interpretation of colors by the population. For example, in several systems now, several managers are trying to avoid to use the green color for the first level, because it transmits a false, let's say, a false behavior of behavior of safety that is not. This is what also they say that trying to do a parallelism with the, let's say, this COVID situation in all over the world. For example, in Italy, they use color level scheme for a different level of emergency in different regions. And at the end, they decided to remove the green color because the green colors transmits like a safety message, and that is not. It's just the first level of the warning. So, but as already said, but other colleagues before, I think that is a very difficult issue to solve, because words are different among words. The color behaviors are different. Color significance are different. For example, in some cases, like in Japan, now this is this purple color, the purple level that is worse than red, and so on. There were some attempts to standardize this, but I don't think it's a very easy issue.
I see that Luca Picciulo has raised the hand.
Yes. Yeah, well, this can be an issue, but the important thing is that that the element at risk, they know what the different colors or the different levels mean, independently of the color of the different early warning system all over the world. But the people, the user, let's call them the user, the element at risk of a given early warning system, the main important thing is that they need to know what is the meaning of that color. And this is where, you know, the education information of it's like passing the technical system and moving it towards the user's needs. And then also to you know, in this phase, it's important also the information and education and communication of the meaning of the warnings that are issued by the system. So from my point of view, it's not really the color or the homogenization of the different colors, but the meaning that is given to the different colors within every single early warning system. But then if you look worldwide in terms of levels, so levels is a good way of, in a given way, homogenize and compare all the different early warning systems. Then the most used one is 4. Usually there are 4 warning levels that have been used independently of the colors that have been used in each one. Yeah, so this was my comment.
Joanna?
So yeah, I agree with the comments that have gone before. I think something that's interesting with the color question, and actually even the warning level question, is that often we tend to set these in the current framework of the climate. And actually what you consider to be red or high today, in 5-10 years time, you might have to reevaluate what that high really means. So we've seen experiences from the Bureau of Meteorology in Australia, where they have a fire warning index. And during the fires that happened a few years ago, they hadn't got enough room on the scale that they had to be able to communicate the threat appropriately, and so had to add levels. So they moved into a black and then a black hashed. So you had like the standard, and then you had these 2 additional or 1 additional level, which was, this black and hashed area. And so it's also important to consider that your warning levels may have to change over time, and how will you do that going forward, I think. So I just wanted to highlight that challenge.
I want to connect to your last comment with a comment that did Stefano before, and that was related to COVID and COVID in Italy and the green. Because even in Italy, for instance, for COVID, we are used, in Italy, we have a system that is a system for regional warnings for landslides and hydrometeorological, impactful events, floods, landslides, stuff like that. That system it's regional, many regions in Italy. It used to be that, besides, there were some guidelines from the state, but regions did different things. So at some point, the state came on and said, you should call moderate this thing. You should call advanced this other thing, and you should use this color. So basically, the state at some point had to put some order, because some regions in Italy, we are all Italians, and then you move from one region to the other, and then cannot be, the color scheme has to be the same, and also the names have to be the same. So now we have some order in that. And we have what we call 4 levels, but indeed, some people are saying, no, 3 levels, normal plus 4, other 3. Now that COVID came about, given that, we had all that experience about communicating warning levels in such a way, we used those color schemes. Let's not consider the green that you already talked about, Stefano, but the yellow, the orange, the red, okay. Then at some point, as John is saying, something changes. I say, how do we go about between orange and red? We need something. Orange, reinforced orange. Because
darker orange.
How do you say?
Darker orange.
Darker orange, but they said reinforced. No, that's because you need something that happens at some point. And as you said, after red, if you want to go beyond red, what do? You tell yourself, let's go to black. And then after black, you have black star. No. That's totally coming because of it's an ongoing process, and at some point you have to accommodate for something that you didn't think in advance. I wanted to tell this story because I thought about it. Yes, there are some comments in the chat, but I'm assuming that if you're writing in the chat, both Anna, Silvia Pacheco, and also Katie, you don't want to add anything, but if you do want to add something, please. Katie.
Nothing specific. I was just agreeing with Stefano, and my door had gone at the same time. So yeah, there is, although in the UK it is clearly communicated what the levels mean, and the matrix is out there for people to see. There are differences in that communication when you drill down through the levels. So yeah, it was only an agreeing comment.
But I think that practice, let's say the practice of the users also has a very important, role to play in this game. I know, as Miriana was saying and others were saying, we have to work with the users. If for years we've been told by the agencies, this and this, green, red, and green, yellow, red, then the users get used to that color scheme, that terminology. So you don't have to change it just because standardizing means changing. Okay, so that's my final comment on this. Any other? All right, so then I guess we can move on because if we don't have any other thing to discuss in relation to this issue. So I wanted to just say to Stefano, okay, if anything comes out on this, tell me. Otherwise, we can even go very briefly. So in my opinion, already something came about future initiatives, possible initiatives, the working group or the career working group and other stuff that we said. I was wondering, but now it's only how many? 28 of us. So maybe I will send an email out to all the participants, 300 plus participants of this day, to ask whether, an on-site Landslide conference is of interest or not. So I hope we can start meeting live relatively soon, depending on where we are. But anyway, and then I also wanted to say that we are thinking with the executive committee about establishing a news section within the blog. Now in the blog we are putting our own initiatives, but then we can use that part of the website, the blog, to disseminate information that are coming from all of you, all of us, all the community. So if you have something to say to people, you can send us something, we put in the blog, and then it goes in a sort of news section. Nothing more to add. If you don't have, from my side, anything to add from your side in terms of future cooperation initiatives and comments on initiatives and LandAware rather than landslide early warning system topics? Manfred.
So this first question here that you ask about how are we going to meet or exchange in the future, this is of course a question that many of us have had in the last months. It's not only for LandAware, it's in general these be it scientific conferences or more user-oriented meetings. How will they be in the future, and should we reconvene as we did before COVID? And my answer would be absolutely yes. It was very interesting to meet many of you here in LandAware during this past year via this Zoom or another video conference. But I feel very much interested in see you at some point in real, and because I have the feeling that in the end we are still missing, and we are still missing some part of this exchange in this session, in this fashion that we are discussing now. There are good reasons to exchange in person at some place. And I'm very glad to see that the first opportunity will come up already in November. There will be this World Landslide Forum in Japan, and I think that will be the first opportunity for many of you or of us to meet. But then for next year, I think it would really be worth to go for meeting in personal meetings in the context of LandAware, but I'm not sure it needs to be one for all. It could also be very much meetings of working groups that we have established, maybe in a minor, more focused format. And that's what I see as what we should have in mind for next year. And of course, it would be a great pleasure to see you all at some point all together, as we did, many of us, last year in Perugia.
Thank you for that, Manfred. I totally agree with your words. I don't want to add anything more. And then, I have some, again, the uncertainty is there about where the future will allow us to take a plane without a problem and go somewhere, depending on where somewhere is. Okay. But anyway, Stefano, I think you can say who's the winner.
Yes.
Of the photo contest.
So finally, with more than 26% of the total votes, so more than a quarter of the vote, for total votes, the winner is the photo by Stratis Carantanellis, which is
okay,
this
then
one.
maybe you can show it somewhere. Thank you.
This one, with the title is "If There Is Magic on This Planet, it should be a nature. It is contained in nature." So congratulations, Stratis. I see Stratis in the list. So if you want to show up, tell us something about this photo.
Hey. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Thank
We hear you.
Sorry for not being able to have in camera because at the work. So I would like to thank all of that for nominating this picture as a awarding one. I would like to let you know that this picture was taken from a UAV survey in Santorini Island in Greek territory, and it constituted a part of a change detection project for coastal hazards based on UAV data and LiDAR techniques. So I think this picture was motivated me to work on my PhD. So thanks everyone for nominating me.
Thank you. So I'm clapping again virtually. Thank you.
Thank you.
And what's the picture that you have there instead of your camera there? Because it's very small. I don't see what it is, but it's an interesting one.
It's located in a neighborhood. It's wood. It's Canon, and it has been designed with caps from beers.
Oh, okay. See, thank you for that. Okay. At this point, I guess, Stefano, you can go to the last slide that I prepared. That is after this one, because I want to say a very, very big thank to Manfred, and of course to all the group of the Swiss Federal Institute for Forest, Snow and Landscape Research, because it really, when we were, besides the idea that also came it was his idea many months ago, but also, to put forward all the energy and the resources to make it happen from the beginning to the end. So no, it's 24 hours now, but before these 24 hours, there were many, many hours before. And so thank you, Manfred, if you show up in video, because I saw that you're there. Before I was writing to Manfred, but instead of Manfred, somebody else was replying from his account. But now it's
now, all the VSL stuff.
Of course, yeah, even the others, if they are connected with video, all the stuff, and thank you very much for that. Adrian and the rest, thank you. And if I don't know, we want to say hi, Manfred. You want to say the very final words of this gathering?
Yes, let me also say a few words about my feedback or my take from this LandAware MayDay. If you want to unshare, Michele, then
Absolutely, I will unshare. Yeah, where is it? Stefano, you have to unshare. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sharing here a statistics. That's the number of participants during these 24 hours. From at the beginning, we had around 80, 90 people. Then there were moments where we were a little bit less, and then it went up again. And this has, of course, a lot to do, not with the program, not at all. It has a lot to do with people sleeping, where is it dark on the world, and so on. So, but if I look at that, I'm very pleased because I think we succeeded to reach our goal of the day. The goal was to be together for a moment, exchange on this topic here, and a little bit in a different way than what we did before. It was certainly an experiment because we knew it's not possible that we will have a lot of people for all these 24 hours, but I would say we really generated a critical mass here. It was active. We had an active program for 24 hours, and I enjoyed it very much. But then we also reached other goals, and this was a little bit connection with the preparation of this LandAware meeting. It was very nice to see how people produced videos for this day, how people prepared panel discussions. So the engagement of the members was very, very nice. And it was not only these 7, 8 organizing members here that are regularly meeting in the steering board. It was really many, many more from all over the world. And also my colleagues who were here in the background and looked at so the system could sustain for 24 hours. They thought that this program was actually very interesting with regard to all these aspects, these different views from different countries. And in that sense, I think we really reached many goals here with this day. And I'm very absolutely happy after these 24 hours. I never thought we would be able to go through these 24 hours with this spirit and high level of information all the time. And of course, now we are tired. Michele, you mentioned it right. We are a little bit exhausted. And nevertheless, I think it's a good feeling. And thank you for all for you who are here, but also to all these colleagues who showed up during the day. And let's keep that spirit for the future, I would say.
Yeah, I totally agree with these final words. Keeping the spirit and the momentum, but also the engagement that people showed in participating in some discussions, and so I think we should look forward for the future of the network. Then of course, after when we switch off now, we have to take a little break, just a little break. But we already planned a meeting for next week to discuss about how things went. Just like we have a meeting scheduled there, but I don't want to think about it now. Thank you.
And finally, it would also be nice to see all the faces. So if now at the very end of this 24 hours, if everybody could turn on the video, then we could even make a goodbye photo of everyone, and then because it's really interesting to see who is behind all these black fields, and it's really nice to see all here. I just take the photo now, and then we can. Then I don't have anything else to say, and I would say I give the word back to Michele for the very last comments and for the
keep the cameras on if you want. In my screen it's only 25 of you, and then the rest it's in the second screen. But some of you I of course personally know, some others I don't. The final words are really unnecessary now. I just want to say thank you, and keep in touch in different ways. We've been discussing a lot, so now it's time to take a break. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.